Okay, so I made that. Was it Thursday? I forget. I think it was no. It was Friday. I already forget what day I made the video. It's been a long couple of days. Just trying to get back in the rhythm of things here at home and whatnot after a trip. I mean, this is it's a big trip. I think the jet lag hit me because I've never been on a plane. Um, and so, I was thinking I was going to do this like half an hour video, but I think what I'm going to just do is, just going to kind of intro it and then, talk a little bit about, stuff. Especially, I want to talk about the Statue of Liberty specifically because that was a really fun trip, or part of the trip going to New York City. But we did a whole bunch, and I'll just put pictures and videos. I'm gonna mute the audio on the videos and whatnot because some of them just a bunch of wind. You can't really hear me talking, and so it's just like instead of just just the sound of the wind just in the video for 5-10 seconds because some of these videos are only 10 seconds long. I did like a panorama of from the Statue of Liberty on that island of the skyline of New York and New Jersey, and you could see everything. Like it's just only 5 seconds, and there's a bunch of people around me taking pictures and videos too. So I'm just gonna mute the audio of the stuff. I'll put up a bunch of pictures in it, but this was really fun. I mean, I really loved, and I don't have any pictures or anything really to share of that Georgia. Well, it was really South Carolina, and then going to Georgia because I was really young when we did that. I was 11. I believe I was 11 years old, so I didn't have a smartphone at the time. But I think I would put that trip above. But flying was an experience that was really fun. Flying was actually really interesting, and God, it messed me up when you're literally going a time zone away, and usually if you're driving it takes hours to just drive through a state, go to a different state and whatnot. Not maybe you're cutting through a corner of a state and it's not that long to reach the next state, but driving, it's like, okay, it's you have these long 8-hour days of driving nonstop to wherever you're going. Flying, it's just like bam. You're already at your stop. And now we had to go through Detroit. We went from Madison to Detroit, and then we went to White Plains, which was a smaller city. But it was a whole lot better than trying to get into New York, especially because when we were coming home, there was a lot of flights getting delayed because of the smoke, because of the rain, and I kind of touched on it in my video. I believe I touched on it in my video. But it was humid over the weekend. We had our reunion on Saturday. It was humid Saturday and Sunday. I got sick Sunday night. Because I was so humid. We were outside for both days for a lot, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, bunch of rain, on and off, on and off, on and off, literally all day from Sunday night to when we left. And even we left, and I think it was Thursday afternoon. So we left on Wednesday. So the next day after we left, they were supposed to get another big storm. That was supposed to be like half the day or whatever. I wish we got rain here in Wisconsin. we're bone dry. It's terrible here. It's such a bad drought here. Probably not one of the worst in the history of the state, but the southern part of the state is really getting hit hard with this. And even here we're dry. It's brown grass everywhere. So kind of jealous that they're getting a whole bunch of rain and we're getting nothing, and dying in the heat, humidity here. It's stupid. This is what I hate about the weather. But point is flying, a bunch of delays from New York City, from the actual airport, close to New York City. So we drove away from that. So it was a smaller airport. So at the time there was Chicago and Detroit were going, and Chicago one actually got pushed back to 12:45, which was when our flight was. So they had to board us, and then they're also boarding the Chicago flight, which was delayed, I think like half an hour or something like that. So it was really interesting to fly. I'm glad we didn't get any delays or anything like that. But it's especially if you've never been flying, it is really interesting. Taking off first time, I got such an adrenaline rush taking off because I didn't know what to expect. And I'm sitting there. We have the window open on the side. You know, it's just a little flap window. You just pull up and you can watch. And you're going down the runway and you're sucked back into your seat because you're going hundreds of miles an hour. It's a plane. Like, this is not a car. 0 to 60. It's like, oh yeah, that's really fast. No, this is like 0 to 500. Like, you're going back in your seat and they're taking off and you're going. So when we left the first flight to Detroit, that was it was quite the experience. And I'm like, oh my god, like I got an adrenaline rush just sitting there like, wow. And you're watching the plane slowly get off the ground. You can feel the wheels aren't under you anymore, and you're on the wings. Didn't really have turbulence. I guess we did have. There was like a little bit of turbulence when we flew from Detroit to New York. There was a little bit, like little bit shaking. Nothing terrible. But yeah, it was quite the experience to go flying. So now I've been on a subway, been on a train, been in a car, and now I've been on a plane. And I don't know why that escaped my mind. I don't know why. So now I've done all that. So I guess the next thing is a rocket ship. I guess we're going to space next. 15 years. I doubt. I don't know if I'll ever go to space. We'll see. Maybe if we get invaded by aliens and we have to go fight in space, maybe I'll have to get on one of those ships to fight. I don't know. But yeah, I've done everything here on Earth that you can really do. I like motorized. I guess. I mean, I count like motorcycles in with cars and whatnot. I'm trying to think of like other transportations that I think I've done everything. I think like if you group it all broadly, I think that's everything. So yeah, if you've never taken a plane, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like going like 0 to 100 in a car, but the car is taking off into the air. Like you're jumping. Like, so I guess if you've ever jumped off a ramp on like a bike, or hopefully you don't do it with cars, but maybe you're one of those extreme people that you're jumping cars, and it's just staying in the air. You don't come back down. You stay in the air, at least for a while. I guess another thing is landing. It's a lot softer. A lot softer than I thought. Because obviously you have the wheels down, and you get a little like boom, a little jolt when the wheels hit the ground. But I don't know. I guess I kind of expected like shaking in the chair. I don't know what I expected landing, but really, I mean, they're trained professionals, so But yeah, so I mean, I'm talking a lot about the plane, but it's so hard to describe. Like, if you've never done it, it's so hard to describe like what it is, because there's nothing else really like it. Especially again, if you've if you've only ridden in a car. I guess if you've been on a train, but even a train doesn't go that fast where you're like whoo. Well, maybe was it Metro? Is that what those are called? The bullet trains. But is there any in the U.S.? I don't think there's any in the U.S. Is there? Chicago might have one. I don't think there's anything. I'm trying to think of a bullet train. I don't think there's any bullet train. Chicago might have one. Maybe California, somewhere in California. I don't think New York had one. So, but yeah, it's like you're just you're going fast and you're going off. And then again, it's way smoother coming down than it is like a car, like boom boom, like you're jumping with a car coming down or jumping with a bike or something like that. Like, it's way smoother. At least that's what it feels like. Maybe it's just because it's so big and the wheels are so big, and you have trained professionals versus you just jumping yourself. But yeah, so that was plane was a real fun experience. Saw a lot. We went to FDR's house. Went to the Vanderbilts. Stuff like that. I'm trying to think what else, but I want to talk as much as I can before I talk about New York City. Because that was Thursday. I guess we didn't really do much Friday. We just kind of hung around the hotel Friday, and then bunch of family were flying in Friday. Then Saturday reunion, Sunday. God, I think we lounged around Sunday. I don't think we did anything Sunday because it was a long day. Well, we were out somewhere. What were we doing? I think we had breakfast somewhere. I forget. We did so much in 7 days that it's just like everything's just clumped together like it's one day. But yeah, then New York City on Monday. And there's a lot. Like there's a lot that happened, a lot that went on. But I recommend the Statue of Liberty. If you've never been in New York, Statue of Liberty is really fun. Now we learned the hard way that you have to buy online tickets to go on the base or up to the Crown or whatever. Because we got there with our tickets and they said, nope, you have to buy them online. So it's only 50 cents difference, but you have to buy the tickets online. So we weren't allowed even on the base with our, with the tickets we had. So we just went to the museum and there's this really cool museum. Talks about the oxidization. What I can't say it. Oxidization, I believe is how you say it. Of was it copper? I believe it's copper, which turns from the brownish color to green, which is what the Statue of Liberty is now. There was a bunch of like cool designs. Like there was one like of a nun. I think was she holding a torch? I forget. I have a picture of it. I believe I'll put that at the end here. But there was a lot in that museum. So I mean, I probably won't put every picture because I could just do a whole video of just the museum and just the island and taking the the panorama shot of New York City from there. We went to Ellis Island, which was really interesting. If you want to learn about like the history of the, you're basically like, I think what was it, 90%, 80. It was like 80 to 90%. Came over in boats, and they landed in Ellis Island. You saw the skyline coming in. Like they had like videos and whatnot, and a bunch of pictures, and they talked about how like certain people like the Irish came over because of a potato famine. All these different kind of groups of people coming over to the U.S. So it was that. I mean, there was a lot to take in for that. They had this section of kind of like signatures of people, and I was trying to I didn't think I was gonna find anyone, but we know of people. My great grandparents came over on a boat to Ellis Island, so it's kind of looking around seeing if their names were on that, but couldn't find anything. Especially, it's so hard to read like old cursive. I have a hard enough time with current day cursive, and some people just go woo, and they're just like scribbles, and it's like, oh, okay, that's your cursive. But then you go like almost basically 100 years back for cursive, 20 years back for cursive, and it's like, you're not speaking English. So that was kind of fun to look at. And obviously they have translated things and whatnot, which makes it easier to read. But I didn't find any of my ancestors on a paper or anything. But there was a lot of different groups kind of shown. They all have their like own section, and then there's this main section you walk through of, again, like a timeline. So like 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, and there's like it's a whole thing you walk through. You can actually go up to a thing, you stand in front of this like booth thing, and it has a sensor, and there's a reading passage, and it actually has like actual reading passages of people that wrote stuff back to England, Ireland, wherever they came from. And it has someone narrate that and read that. And there's a little extra blurb that doesn't read that you can read yourself. So it was really interesting to see that too. So those two stops were really fun. When you're stuck in the city for so long, it was so hot, and it's off and on raining on Monday. You get out to basically the sea, like you're over the ocean essentially. Now you're not surrounded by ocean on one side because there's land masses and whatnot. But it leads out to the ocean, so you can have sharks in there and all these other things from the ocean right below your feet, right under the ship. But you get out there and you feel that sea breeze, especially again when it's humid and whatnot, and you get out there and all you just feel is a strong wind. It's like, oh, I just want to stay here. Yeah, so that was fun. We went around, saw a bunch of different things. Went to the 9/11 memorial. They actually had one of the I guess fountains. Is that what I don't know what you call the water. Like it's just kind of not. It's like what's a reverse fountain, whatever, like a waterfall type of thing. Going down in the center, they have layers. I'll put videos of that. We saw people put flowers in the relatives' names. They put flowers in them. Say hey, like that's coming back to just come back to the site. What else did we do? Yeah, we just walked the streets, man. We just walked the streets. Saw a bunch of stuff. We saw what's it called? The Times Square ball, the New Year's Eve ball, whatever it's called. We saw that. I took a picture of that. I took like 2 or 3 pictures, but I'm only gonna put one in the video. We saw where that was. We ended up, taking it, just going left randomly through this thing, and we popped up on Times Square, and lo and behold, we were right underneath where the ball was. So look how that worked out. So you just kind of saw a bunch of stuff. I think I have pictures of the was it the One World Trade Center, I believe it's called. Bunch of sky, pictures, bunch of pictures. Just you have to almost bend your back backwards just to get a good picture of these tall buildings, because they're hundreds of feet they're hundreds of feet tall, and so you gotta like bend your back like at an awkward angle just to get like the top, just like hey, like look at that, there's a photo of it, but it's so awkward because you're on the ground level and everything's just so high up, and again it's like everything's just touching the sky, like all these buildings are just touching the sky, and they're just like yeah here we go. And then you're just an ant, like you're literally an ant in the city just walking through. So it's quite the journey, and there's so many blocks. These blocks are, I think some can be like a quarter of a mile, like some of them are quite a walk just to go. And if you go, I think was it horizontal or vertical? I think if you go horizontal, I think the blocks are shorter, and I believe it's vertical, the blocks are longer. I don't quote me, but I believe that's what it was. I don't remember. I think it was horizontal was shorter. I can't remember. But yeah, some of them, like some longer blocks, could be I think like a quarter mile long, or maybe not a quarter mile, but maybe like a fifth or a sixth of a mile long. Like they were long. You're breathing heavy. Central Park was quite interesting, and they had these like rocks, like glacier must have went over, and they were very slippery. We didn't bring the right shoes. We brought shoes, but we didn't bring the right shoes to go climbing on these slippery rocks. We saw a young girl actually kind of fall and hurt her back on a rock, because she jumping around and whatnot and kind of slipped. So like you have to have really good shoes for these. None of us did. None of us really brought good shoes. So yeah, had a bunch of rock structures, which again I believe it's glacier. But cut them and whatnot. There's mark. I'll put. I believe a picture of it. But this is a big park. Like we saw so many people going for jogs through it. There's a big park. There's horse carriages through the park that can take you on a little ride through it. There's so many there's a bunch of homeless people in there too, and I guess they all sleep there. So, but yeah, Central Park was really cool. When you go from a city of metal trees, which is a bunch of tall buildings, to just like sometimes the trees are so thick that you can look up and you can't see a building, because there's so many trees in the park congested in that area that like it just blocks sighting and everything else. So you're just looking up and you're only looking at trees, and that's it. But it's a big park, really cool park. So yeah, I think that was pretty fun. I mean, we went to it in the morning, so thank God we didn't go there at 3 in the afternoon when it was blazing hot. We were there early enough where it just rained before, so there's puddles all over. But cool enough to just walk through and get through. And I think that's why everyone's either running in the morning or you're running at night through that. But yeah, so New York was a lot of fun, and we went around a couple other places around, kind of far outside the city. We didn't go as far as like Buffalo or something like that, or we didn't go down to New Jersey, which I had thoughts of doing. And I was thinking if the Jets are gonna practice, why not go down there and see? Couldn't get down there, and I wasn't gonna go down there if they weren't practicing. I thought, what, if they were, that'd be a fun experience, but they weren't. So I'm like, I'm not gonna even try to ask. I talked about it with some people on the last day, but I'm like, yeah, it wouldn't have been worth it. So, didn't go to New Jersey or whatever, but New York is very swampy, and it's very hilly. It's we don't have a lot of hills here in Wisconsin, so. It's quite the journey just to kind of see, and you're going down highways and whatnot, and you're just seeing just a bunch of like rocks, and glaciers came over them, and you got marks on the rocks and whatever. I think the highest point, I think that in Wisconsin, I think the highest point is just like 45-50 minutes away from my house here. It's in I believe it's in Wapaka, or I think it's between Wapaka and Stevens Point, but it's not that tall. Like when you're going to mountain range, like this is kind of like the edge of a mountain range, whatever. I think is it Appalachian? I forget what one it is out there. Because there's one on the west coast, or no, I guess it divides America. It's technically in the middle of America. Ignore me. And then you have another range kind of on the east coast here. So you have middle of America, and then you have eastern, and I believe the eastern one, I can't remember, but I think it's Appalachian is that one. What I don't remember what the other one is. That's how much I know our geography. But yeah, so a lot of fun. We're 22 minutes in here, but yeah, if New York City is kind of like a glorified mall, or it's if you're working there, you're just working in a building. I would never live in New York City. Rent is too high. They're talking to some people, some of my family that lives there, and people are moving out faster than people are moving in. They're getting houses outside of the city, far away, like half an hour to an hour away from the city, rather than living in the city just because of rent and whatnot. So I would never personally live in New York City, but just seeing again like the mountain ranges, or I guess like the hills, and how mountainy it is, and you go from that to, oh, here's a swamp, and I guess I never put like two and two together of, hey, you're right on the ocean, you're right on the edge of that, of course it's going to be swampy because it's a lower elevation, it's closer to sea level. I never put two and two together for that, so I don't know why I was kind of shocked, like, oh my god, like there's a lot of a lot of swamps here, like, whoa. I don't know why I didn't put two and two together. There's an ocean right there. But yeah, so a lot of fun. I'll put a bunch of pictures, and I'm gonna mute the video, the videos. I'm gonna mute the audio of that. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and play those. I know we're 23 minutes in, so hi. If you skip this far, hi. I'm gonna go ahead let that do its thing, so you can see pictures I took. So for now, I'm out of here. Enjoy. And yeah, I don't know what the future of this channel is gonna be, but I had a lot of fun on this trip, and yeah, here you go.